Good evening and welcome to the Dave Ray Show. I'm your host, Dave Ray, here with Communications Director for Lawrenceburg Utility Systems, Lee Boyd. How are you, Lee?
I'm good, Dave. How are you?
I'm doing well. It's great to have you back on the show again.
Yeah.
Lee's already been here once. We recorded the whole show and found out that the microphones did not do what they're supposed to, so we're glad to have you back so soon.
That's right. At least I know what to expect. Right?
Yes, I think you might actually be able to hear us today, so that's a positive.
That's good.
So, first question, what do you enjoy most about being Communications Director?
Well, in the title itself, it should tell you I love talking to people. It's one of my favorite things. When I was in school, I used to get in trouble like a lot of people because I was a talker. And, you've seen those memes where people say, this little kid sitting in the chair and says, "Lady, you can move me where you want. I'm still going to be the same person."
Yes.
So that really is me. I enjoy people. I enjoy helping people, and it can be through the capacity of utility. Makes it even better in my profession. Being able to get people what they need. Whether it be just through communication or maybe they physically need something. That's one of my favorite things. And if I can do that through work as much as I can do it through church and I can do it through other avenues, then that's probably my favorite thing is being able to help people.
That's awesome. I also very much enjoy helping people.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite things.
That's awesome. So where do you get your power from?
So essentially to break down that's a long question, but I can condense it is. LUS is a distribution company. So what we actually do is we get our power from the Tennessee Valley Authority, and we get the power from Alabama, North Alabama. Usually hydroelectric is what most of ours comes from. We have two lines coming in from North Alabama, and then it's brought into what's called substations. We actively have 5 substations in our county with one on the way. We can talk about that later. And we step down from the TVA transmission lines, and then we put it into our distribution system. And that distribution system carries the power that's really, really heavily volted. We step it down, and then we step it down even further to bring it into your homes. So we get our power from there, and you'll see those substations, and you'll see the infrastructure on the side of the roads with the poles, and then you'll see transformers, and you'll see lines, and then we have a lot of underground infrastructure, electric infrastructure as well. But TVA, we just signed on for another contract extension with them. They've been with us for a long, long time. That's who we're going to get our power from as long as probably I'm working, and odds are as long as you're alive. So, but yeah, that's where we get it from, and it's been a great partnership. The reliability has been great for Lawrence County. We've been in business since 1908, and having power in areas of Lawrence County was not always a thing, and now it's really hard to think back that there could be places without the availability of power. So, but yeah, we get all ours from North Alabama.
Wow. So, talking about all these high voltage lines and lots of electricity, other than OSHA, what are some safety protocols you have to follow or you're enforcing just to make the work environment safer for your employees?
So we have a full position devoted to safety. David Keaton is our safety director, and his job is to make sure that we're compliant through OSHA, but as well as just general everyday safety. We have TDPPA and other entities that kind of we follow to make sure that our training's up to date, to make sure that we're following best practices so we can mitigate any issues that might happen. But the main thing that we try to focus on is our electric guys. Even though we are a 4-leg utility, all aspects are dangerous. And even from our gas, water, and sewer guys working in confined space, working in holes, dealing with underground infrastructure, heavy equipment. We have to make sure we have the proper PPE. We have to make sure that the training's in place. CPR, AED trainings. Our electric guys have to go through years and years and years of school. Generally, it's a over 5-year program. So once they get to us, when they go through an apprenticeship program, that generally takes over 5 years. So we really pour into them. So it's a trade, but it's still school. You're just actively getting paid while you're in school. But David does a really good job of making sure that our guys are prepared for what they may encounter. And at the end of the day, I know my general manager, as well as me and everyone else up there, we want everybody to come home every day to their family. And that's from the meter reader to the office staff to the guys on top of the phones. We want everyone to do that. So yeah, safety is very important. Like I said, it's a full-time position that's very, very highly effective for our company. It's been really good.
So not only is safety important, but business in general is important. Getting that business is important. So, what if I was a prospective business wanting to come into Lawrence County, from the electrical standpoint, the utility standpoint, what would you say to me if I was, looking at Lawrence County, maybe to put my new facility?
Well, more than likely, we would have a collaborative meeting if you were a larger industry coming in with the Chamber of Commerce and other stakeholders. Ryan Egley and Vic work very close together on economic development and expansion. And so that personal one-on-one meeting that my general manager would have with you would be to outline what our system can do, and then pretty much what your needs are. And then we would be able to get together a blueprint as to how we can service you the best way. Obviously we can offer you natural gas in two different directions. Sewer services, our plants, very, very easily capable of containing whatever you need for the most part. TVA would be involved. We would talk about servicing you through the electric side. And then obviously, like I said, our water can take a large amount because we've been here, we have infrastructure in place for that. So I think the big thing coming in is we would really want to sell you on the fact that we're here for you. That's the most important thing, is that our job is to make sure that you're successful. And that's everyone, even residents. We want you to have the best chance for success in anything that you do. And so the utilities should be the last of your worry. You should always have the availability to whatever you need to do your job and to create more jobs. And so I believe that would be the biggest thing for us, is to make sure that as a customer coming in, that our priority is for you to be successful.
Wow. That's great. So, explain to me the water part of the system. How does that work from beginning to end?
So it's really kind of funny. Lawrence County has the largest number of water districts per capita than any other place around. We have there are many water districts, and they're regulated by different ones. Obviously, I would say at this point we're the largest. And just tell the age a little bit. There really wasn't a lot of water system in place in rural areas of Lawrence County. It was just well, or you pumped it up from a freshwater spring. And so, but Lawrenceburg always kind of had availability to it. In fact, Hope Springs is located just on this side of David Crockett, and that's where our water filtration plant is. And it is a natural spring that's never went dry as long as it's been in existence that I know of. And we pull 1.5 million gallons a day from it.
Wow.
And it doesn't have to be treated much more other than just your basic treatment. Very clean water. County seat is there because of that, and the reason it's seated there. And then obviously we pull in from Shoal Creek as well. Push through our filtration plant. We treat with the things, nothing harsh. We essentially do the same thing that all other systems would do, with the chlorine in, and making sure we get the bad things out.
Right.
And then it goes through the filtration process, and then after we go through the filtration process, then we pump it into the water tanks. And water tanks for us is where we hold, and that's how you get the pressure in your home. So we pump from our filtration plant to infrastructure all over the county, and we actually provide water for these other districts as well. And when we pump that water up, it goes up into the tank, and then when it sets, gravity takes over, and that's how we push the water into your home. So when you cut the faucet on, it doesn't trickle out. But that's where you run into an issue if you have a break in the line. If there's a break in the line, the pressure comes out that break, and it doesn't make it in your home. So if you're past the break, then you're going to have low water pressure, and then if we're having to correct that or to fix that, generally you have no pressure and no service at all. So water, we're very proud of our water system. We do a very good job of our guys at the plant do a very good job of making sure that we're very regulated. That we're always watching and monitoring each process of that water filtration from the time of collection to the time of distribution. That's very important for us, and our guys are very steady. They're there 24 hours a day most of the time.
Wow.
If things are being drawn, then we've got people there on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, even on Christmas.
That's very true.
Well, the biggest load days are holidays, so our guys don't get those days. They have to be there those days, and that's important because if you're home with your family during the holidays, you want water service, you want good water to cook with and bathe with and be a part of. So, and they're having to work really hard right now because it's hot, so there's water consumptions are up, and but they're doing a pretty good job. I can't speak enough to Wayne Snacks and his bunch out there. They're doing a great job.
Wow. So. That's the first side of things. So let's talk about the other end of things, the sewage aspect. So explain to me how that aspect of utility systems works.
So wastewater collection, or as most people call it, sewer, is really it's more complex than what people would think. It's not just simply flush the toilet, go into a septic tank, septic hauler, take it out, bring it to the wastewater plant. Or in our case, if you live in the city of Lawrenceburg, pretty close, we have, our collection system runs from your home all the way back to our system. We're more regulated, I believe, with the wastewater system than we are anything else because of the TDEC standards and EPA standards. And we're highly permitted. We're highly tested. We have there are labs in both water and wastewater plant. And those, our workers at the wastewater plant, Lisa Porter and her crew, they have to come in every morning very early and they do their lab testing. And they test on collection, they test on processing, and they test before what they call outfall. They have to test 3 times, influent, effluent, and outfall. And the reason they do that is because we're a biological plant. So we're going to take in the wastewater, and then what we're going to do is we're going to separate, we're actually going to break the water and all the solids down to a liquefied form. Which means there are things that we get in that are not available to break down to liquefied form. So those have to be churned and pulled up to be thrown away at the landfill.
Now I forgot who I heard this from. I heard there was a 2x4.
We can get anything because a lot of our storm drains actually come back to the wastewater plant. So, and you'd be surprised what people can flush down their toilets. So if I could give just a little PSA here, do not flush flushable wipes down the drain.
They're not flushable.
Well, a cat's flushable, but that don't mean you should do it, right?
Right.
Because it's not really good for the system. Wipes do not break down. In fact, they cause clogs very, 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 very quickly because the material gets wrapped around things. Secondly, never put fats, oils, or grease down your drain. If you drain your hamburger meat down the drain, that's like heating up a candle and then dropping it in cold water. I don't know if you've ever seen that, but that hot wax will turn immediately back to that hard form. Well, in a pipe that gets solids. And when that happens, it clogs your drain. And then we have what's called the toilet throwing back up in your house. And we never want that to happen because there's nowhere for the water to go. So when it comes in, we chew it up, we liquefy it, then it goes in and we treat it on the front end. It gets thrown through a screen, and then we treat it, and then our bugs take over. Okay, and these are not bugs. We don't have a couple of bugs we toss off in there. These are natural ecosystem biological bugs. Okay, and they go in and they eat all the material. All right, and then what they do is after they eat, like all other organisms, they have to get rid of what they eat, and that is the stuff that's left over. It's actually the excrement of the bugs and the stuff that they let off. And then so what we do from there is we drain that liquid down. That liquid goes down and it's retreated. It's treated with chemicals to make sure it's clean, and then we put it into another system that actually takes the chemicals out and makes it what's called a pure water. And pure water doesn't have any chemicalization in it. All it has is just pure H2O. And that pure H2O goes back into Show Creek, and it's tested so thoroughly that it's better water than what we're putting in. That water's fine that we're putting it into because people swim in it all the time. And then the leftover solid material, stuff that the bugs get rid of, it's actually pushed down in a pipe, cleaned out, and pushed through an extruder. And then we take it and put it in these big beds that are concrete beds, and it dries out. And it becomes a really, really high-end fertilizer that through TDEC and through certain permitting, we're allowed to spread that on farmers' land. So the whole process is a perfect turnkey to take care from collection all the way to the end. We make sure that we use every aspect of it, nothing's wasted. And that's what's right by our customers.
That's impressive. So let's talk about the project aspect of things. So, what would you say? What projects do you have going on right now?
As far as the utility goes, in general, we're trying to stay on top of the ever-growing population right now.
Mm-hmm.
I read something the other day and was having a conversation with some other managers up with the utility. That in a general year, our average is between 200 and 210 customers in a 12-month period, new customers. We were already at 270 something the 1st of July for this year. So that is
that's additional customers.
That's right. Well, that's just new customers. 270. That's how we measure. Measure. We have some come out, so I don't know what the offset is, but I do know we've had 270 new, what you call new meters this year, and that is a really good statistic for our county. It means we're growing, and it's a good thing. And like I said, just to talk about that too, population, it yields and it gives back too. So I don't know how many have left, and we don't have that measurement. But for us to be able to accommodate the growth in the north end of the county, we have a lot of things going. We're doing gas extension and gas upgrades out across the road and in other areas. We just got finished with everything down around the college. All that's brand new and completed.
The water tower looks great.
The water tower looks really good. It does. If you haven't seen it, it's got the collegiate logo on it. It looks really good.
You can't miss it at night.
No, you can't.
It's white figure in the air.
Well, it's lit up real well. And it's got ornamental fencing around, and it's the nicest one we have if you go around it. But it needs to be. It's in a good area. But at this time, our biggest project is what we're calling the North Substation. It'll have a different name, but it's the furthest one north. Like I said before, we have 5 existing substations. We have one in 5 Points, one in Loretto, one in Dunn, one out at David Crockett School, and then we have the oldest one, which is in Collins. We call it Collins, but it's in the industrial park on the north side, on the other side of what Cabbage is. And then we're actually this one's located out Buffalo Road. It's in construction now. It's going to be over 100 megawatt capacity, which is huge. It's good for our system. But it's going to service everything north from 2 different directions. And that's very important because when we have an outage, and it's going to happen because that's what happens in a distribution system is, different things cause outages that are out of our control. And what you don't want is an area to only be fed one way, because if they lose power, then they have to be out of power for the duration, the entire area, until it's corrected. So a lot of our other areas, especially in town and stuff, we have switches where we can move power back and forth to isolate it to a bubbled area. Okay, just like you would do triage on a patient, right?
Yes.
But there are also areas of our county that we cannot do that. And the north part was really needing an extra valve, that I would call it. And our industrial growth has been the last 10 years has been going north. So we have the project behind this substation is to make sure that we can service the growth in the north end of the county, as well as be able to provide service for future economic and industrial development. So you're going to see a very upgraded infrastructure line coming in out Red Hill Road into Etheridge, into downtown Etheridge. We got a contract crew there now doing some of those things now. But the main thing is we want it to be forward thinking. Vic and I have talked, and I know Bill Pettis and other ones up there, our engineers, Bobby Stevenson and Roy Brown and Lonnie Bailey have really spent some time talking about the importance of being forward thinking when it comes to our future in LUS County, because we never want to be behind and trying to play catch up. You're not very lucrative to people coming in, and you're not very appealing to people coming in where you're like, okay, we'll get it for you, but it's going to be 2 years. So I think our general manager and his group of engineers, electric engineers, have done a really good job of making sure that we're forward thinking enough that we can provide those things before it's here, because that's important.
Right.
So that's the biggest project. I mean, we have, obviously, if you've been down around the square, we're heavily involved with Barry Goss's contract crew, trying to make sure that whole deal gets done. And then, just maintaining our service every day right now is our biggest project, because the dead of winter and the heat of summer are the hardest times for us, because there's a lot of water use means that there could be a lot of damage. In the wintertime, freezing pipes, cold, people are home. Electric lines get hot, they sag. So, our guys are out. They have to go up on them poles middle of the night. Our guys are in the ground digging holes trying to fix damaged infrastructure 24 hours a day. But that's our job. That's what we do. So those are our biggest projects. It's just making sure that we can provide reliability to everybody around.
We'll be right back after this commercial break. And we're back with Lee Boyd, Communications Director for Lawrenceburg Utility Systems. So, next question. What is the largest power outage you can remember?
The largest one that I can remember since I've lived in Lawrence County was in, I think, 91 or 94. I can't remember. I think it was the ice storm. Yeah, you should. It was it was 91 or 94. I think it might have been 94. And it was the ice storm. I was either a freshman in high school or a seventh grader, one of the two. I was young, and that ice storm was really the perfect storm for Lawrence County, and it devastated the distribution system because of trees. And really, the lines themselves were not intended to handle ice. Our lines now are not intended to handle much ice. And so what happened was when the ice builds up on the line, it's kind of like an icicle. It just keeps getting bigger and bigger. That ice gets heavy. And there were many times this year during our winter weather where I would be driving, just driving and looking at infrastructure and being around seeing different parts, where when it was starting to warm up, that ice would fall and the line would bounce, which that's a good thing and a bad thing, because if it bounces and touches, then we have other issues. But I want to say I'm pretty sure it was 94 or 91. I can't remember, in the ice storm. And I'm sure someone in the comments will correct the date that it is, but it's been a long man. I can't remember the exact date, but and there was a large, several thousands of people were without power, and it's not never, in my opinion, about the volume of people that's out, because we could have a large outage that could be fixed very quickly. But that outage durated many weeks, and I've heard stories from our crews that would say that they would be out, all day long building a line, and then that night it would freeze back down and the trees would just fall and the lines would break again and everything they did had to be redone. And a lot of people were without power for many, many days. And so our guys will work in shifts 24 hours a day to try to get those things back on. So that was the largest one I can remember. The most recent one, obviously, was a tornado from just a little while back, a year or so ago. And we saw 1,800 to 3,000 people without power. But the longest durated was about 24 hours, and we had it less than 600 customers during that long. I would say within the first 4 to 6 hours, we cut that number in half twice. So, just a little side note on that. Our guys, we have a system. It's a very, very technical system that we look at to try to isolate problems. And tornadoes they're a little easier to work because they have a defined path. But when there's multiple tornadoes, or if there is a straight line wind event like we've had, and you have widespread outages, it's a little harder on our guys. And it's all hands on deck when that happens, and we call in as many people that we can possibly get in, and we form a plan of attack. Now, it does take us a little while to get everyone in and get everybody equipped to get all the things that we need to send people out to go.
And then obviously, we have to incorporate downtime there for different people. So we don't want to work our guys so long that they get tired and it's dangerous. So, and I know that's frustrating for people sometimes because our guys still need to eat, they still need to sleep, they still need to rest, to try to get those things back home. But I can't speak enough to the way that our company rallies around each other. They know, they don't complain, they know what's fixing to happen. The last outage we had durated over about 72 hours. But our guys come together, they work long hours, they go home when they have to, because we make them from a safety standpoint. And they get their sleep that they have to have. We're really regulated on that. And, but then, cutting it like we did from 3,200, 3,800, all the way down to 600, and then really that number fell. It would have fell much faster had it not been a widespread deal, because you can get to places where there's just one or two or three or four customers. So we're having to send a crew here to do 4, and then we're having to send a crew over here to do 4, and it just takes longer to work that down. But it's the utility, and the reason that we don't have the widespread as much anymore, really you won't see it much at all. Since I've been here, you've only seen really 2 events where it was a long duration time, is because Big Pusser come in years ago, and we all learned from that ice storm. And he implemented the right-of-way program and upgraded it. He spent several $1 million with Kershawing, with sky trimming, draft machines, crews that are cutting crews. And you see people out all the time, and our guys are in buckets, and they're cutting back, and they're cutting that right-of-way back. And the reason that we're doing that is so small limbs don't fall and short out your system. And now we can't do anything about big trees. That's going to happen. We can't do anything about wind blowing over things. But we've cut down our outages tremendously due to limbing, which for most systems is one of the highest things. But believe it or not, the highest reason we have for outages is not limb related or weather related. It's animal related.
Really?
It's animal related. We have a lot of birds. Owls, frogs, snakes, bobcats.
Frogs.
Yeah, Actually, a tree frog was one of the longest and biggest outages we had several years ago. I heard from a lineman. He said we couldn't see it, so they have to see where it shorted. And so they were trying to run the line down. They couldn't see where the frog had shorted out. He was coming off the pole onto the primary, and he created, because power's looking for the closest place to ground. That's what it's wanting to do. So when you touch it and you're grounded to the ground, which a pole is, then you become that point of contact. And so obviously the frog didn't make it, and but we couldn't see where the damage was. And so it took a long time for our guys, and they had to be up and check every pole, check every line. So those are just things that I would like to plug. Is our guys really are working hard, and they're doing their absolute best, because we live here, we have families that's without power as well. And so we want everyone to be as comfortable as possible, but we also want to make sure that we're safe as possible as well.
So if you're a Lawrenceburg Utility Systems employee, I want to give you a shout out right now and thank you on behalf of the Dave Ray Show. All of us here at WLX, thank you for what you do. But anyway, shifting kind of from utilities, let's look at your job as a communications director.
Okay.
So what does it look like working with maybe elected officials, the weather center here?
Right.
What does that kind of look like, that relationship look like? Maybe with the Chamber of Commerce.
I believe that a company's biggest strengths is how they are perceived, both in the public eye, the political eye, and in their customer's eye. Because perception is 90, really, I'll be honest with you, perception is probably 99 to 100% of most people's reality. But in all seriousness, I would say perception is 90% of reality. And so I believe that you have to be able to work fluidly with everyone in a community if you offer an essential service. And we offer an essential service. We offer utilities that have created this comfortable place that we live in for many people. And so working with elected officials, we want to make sure that we can have a relationship with them, that they know that at any time, if they have a concern or if they have a need or if there's something that we can help them with, that we're available to them. So the biggest thing that I would bring to the table for that is availability. I'm always available. My number, they all have it. They all have my card. They can call me anytime they'd like, and we can have a discussion. And if I don't know, or if they need to talk to someone, I will get them in front of the person that they need to talk to. As far as the chamber goes, Vic works very closely with the Chamber on Economic Development. And he also allows me and other employees to work through the ambassadorship and through Leadership Lawrence and different avenues to where we can make sure that the chamber is the hub for success for our community when it comes to the business side of things. So the fact that we support each other and the fact that my general manager is so forward thinking with economics, that he allows me to do that, creates that partnership where whatever they need, especially with new and incoming customers, that we're available. And as far as our customer goes, we want to make sure that we are reliable when they need us anytime. We don't want to be in their business. We don't want them to have to worry about utilities. But when from time to time, when they need us, when the power goes out, when the weather gets bad, or if they have issues, any issues with paying bills or with other, we want to be able to have those conversations, even if they're tough from time to time, even if we can't agree on everything, because we are a business at the end of the day, and there are times where we're not going to always agree, and we're going to have tough conversations. But we want people to understand that we have their best interest at heart. We want them to know how much we care about them. It doesn't always seem that way sometimes. But we want our customers to have safety in the fact that we're going to give them what they pay for. And what they pay for is the comfortability of having utilities in their own home.
Right. And it's very important.
It's very important.
Very important. So last question, what would you say to someone who's interested in going into communications, but not only just communications? What would you say to someone who's interested in going into the utility field, I'll say?
I would have to say that if you're looking to get into utilities, you're going to have to understand that your career is going to be that of servitude, all right? Because no one that works for a utility, from any aspect, from the lowest level entry positions coming in to the general manager, you're going to be serving people where they are, not where you are, but where they are. And their needs are going to be magnified in their eyes. And there is a lot of people that need the utility to work with them to help them be successful. So you have to have a heart for success for your community, but you also have to have a heart for servitude to make sure that when someone needs something from you, that you do your best to give them the best effort that you have. You may not always be able to meet. You may not always be able to have the success that you want, because some things they just don't line up, and that happens. But you have to give it the best effort you possibly can. You have to be as fair, and you have to be as communicable as you can possibly be. Transparency goes a long way with us. We want people to know how they get their power. We want people to know what we can do to help them. We want them to know about programs we have. We want them to know about all those things. So I would say be geared more towards servitude, and understand that sometimes the job is going to call. And it's going to call at all hours, and that's part of the servitude. It's physical, much more than the mental side of things and the professional side of things. And your family will understand that you work for utilities, because mom or dad, whoever's having to go out on the road in the middle of the night, their kids are going to say, "Well, Daddy's out trying to help people, just like a fireman or someone else." And so that's the advice that I would give. As far as communications goes, you have to be able to adapt. I make the statement that I'm like a goose. I wake up in a different pond every day, and I like that, because I've heard people say before, I like chaos. I like things to not be the same every day. And even though I'm getting older, I do like that. I don't like the very set thing every single day, and some people do, and that's fine. But I don't. I like to have things kind of thrown at me, and I love the challenge. That's the coach in me. I do like the challenge of things. I like to see things that most people can say, "Well, there's really no help there, no hope there." And I'd like to see if I can help. And just be yourself, no matter what you're doing. People read genuineness through your eyes and through your actions, and people can spot when you're not genuine. And if you're not genuine, generally people are not going to work with you. So from a communication standpoint, even though I may have to tell you things that you don't want to hear from time to time, I'm going to be genuine is what I have to tell you. And so be genuine and be adaptable and enjoy people. And if you can do those three things, you're going to have a really long career.
That's excellent. Well, Lee, thank you so much for joining us today. Hoping to have you back after this next project is done. Actually, the next two projects, because the one on the square, of course, and the one in Etheridge. Let us know how those go in the next couple of weeks, next couple of months, whenever it's finished.
I will.
And we'll look forward to having you back on the show.
That's great.
Tune in next Friday on Facebook, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. Fridays at 7 p.m.